Good morning, class. Today we are going to start with the first chapter in your bio. Class 6 you've done biophysics and chemistry together. But here in class 7 we divided into all living plants and animals that come under bio. So the first chapter in bio is nutrition in plants. Ever heard of this term nutrition? Chalo, let's see, we'll begin. And by the end of this chapter, I think I'll take few, maybe 5 or 6 classes to complete this chapter. Some things are familiar to you, some I'll explain. Right? So by the end of this chapter, you'll be able to list the food items necessary for growth and maintenance. You will define the term nutrients and nutrition. You can recall the process of photosynthesis. You did in class 6, some extension of that in class 7. Then you can compare the autotrophs and heterotrophs. Then there are different types of heterotrophs. So you'll be able to distinguish between parasites, saprotrophs, insectivorous and symbiotic relationship. These are the terms which are new to you. So this is an add-on in class 7. Then using an experiment we'll establish that why is sunlight necessary for photosynthesis. Can the plants make food if there is no sunlight? Right? And finally, how the indoor plants can survive without sunlight for long. Do you think they can always live without sunlight or do they need sunlight? Okay, so it is a quick recapitulation of what you've already learned in class 6. The first one is, what are nutrients? Anybody? Okay, so they are proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins and minerals. And yes, some amount of roughage is also needed in the diet. Along with that, we need water. Right? Though we don't consider them as roughage, but they're equally important. Anybody who can tell me the importance of roughage and water in our diet? Otherwise, all the other nutrients you're familiar with, what are they? They are carbohydrate, fats, proteins, minerals and vitamins. Then why do we need these nutrients? Yes, why do we need food? What kind of food do you like? You like more of carbohydrates? Okay. Some of you must be more fond of vegetables. Anybody? Oh, I don't think so. Okay. Then what is the function of carbohydrate in our body? Function of fat in our body, proteins, vitamins and minerals. And finally, what is nutrition? Now this term you are not very familiar with. You know that these are nutrients. But how are we taking these nutrients? The mode of taking. Are we using our hands? Are the plants also using their hands? Do they have hands? Or are the plants getting them from somewhere else? Or are they making the food? This is what this chapter is going to deal with. Okay, so coming on to nutrition. What is nutrition? It is the mode of taking food by an organism and the utilization by the body. Sometimes you see you go on eating, you're hogging all the time, still you don't put on weight. What does that mean? This means that the body is not utilizing it. Maybe there is some problem with your digestive system. Maybe the type of food that you are eating is not sufficient. Maybe the time when you are eating it is not the right time. So both the components are important in nutrition. How the body is taking the food and how it is being utilized. That is what is nutrition. Can anybody tell me what is nutrition? Yes. It is the mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body. On the basis of this nutrition, we have classified nutrition into two types. One is called autotrophic, the other is called heterotrophic. Okay, what is autotrophic? You're all familiar with autotrophic. You did in class 6. You know, basically you know the terms autotrophic and heterotrophic. But in this chapter, we are going to go into details of autotrophs and heterotrophs. So autotrophic nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which the organisms can make organic food by themselves using the simple inorganic substances. What is organic food themselves? The food that we are eating. And what are the inorganic substances? How are they making food? What is that process called? You all familiar with? That is called photosynthesis. What is photo? Photo is light. So that means in presence of light, when the plant is making food, that is called photosynthesis. It could be any light. Can they make in tube light also? Or maybe the indoor also the plants can make food, or they need sunlight. And why do they need sunlight? Yes, we'll come to these pertinent questions in our next segment. Then is the heterotrophs. They cannot make their own food and they depend on the plants for their food. Example, the non-green plants, human, etc. So we can't make our food. Again, why can't we make our food like the plants? Had it been possible that we make food, life would have been so convenient. But still, there are certain things which are present in the plant which are not present in our body, as a result of which we can't make food. Right, so this is, can you get something out of this diagram? What all is there? Water. How is the plant getting water? It's getting from the soil. Where are we giving water to the plant? Are we watering each and every part of the plant? No, we are adding water to the soil. From this, the water is transported to the leaf, and along with carbon dioxide and sunlight. What is one thing which is missing here? It is this green color. Where are they getting the green color from? They are getting the green color from a pigment called chlorophyll. Where is this chlorophyll present? It is present in the green part of the plant. That means it's only the leaf which is green, which is carrying the chlorophyll. No, there is an exception also. In some cases you have the stems also, which carry the green pigment. So that means this green pigment is essential for the plant to make food. If this green is not there, will the plant make food? This is how this green pigment looks like. This is how the leaf has the, you find these things, it seems as if these are some coins, but these are not coins, these are the food factories of the leaf. That is why the food factory of a plant is the leaf, because it is this part which has the chlorophyll. So the sun's energy will be trapped by the chlorophyll and then it is converted into the food that you are eating. So this is a schematic diagram of the process of photosynthesis. This is not required at this stage, but I had only added so that it gives you a picture of how does a leaf look like, right? So coming to photosynthesis again, anybody who can define photosynthesis for me? Okay, the process of making food by the plants in presence of carbon dioxide, water, sunlight and chlorophyll. And how is the food prepared? Food is prepared as starch, and along with that the oxygen is released. So oxygen is the byproduct. Oxygen is given by the plant during photosynthesis. It is this oxygen which is so essential for us. That is the reason that we need to grow plants. Are we growing plants? The amount of plants which are cut, the same amount of plants are grown by us? No. That is what results in our problem. So the chemical equation also of photosynthesis is CO2. What is CO2? Carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll will give food. Now the food is in the form of C6H12O6. What is it? It is the equation which is given for glucose. So the food we are getting is in the form of starch or sugar, and along with this oxygen, and the energy is released. Plants are using what? Carbon dioxide and water. What are they giving? Oxygen and food. That is why they are our saviors, because they are giving oxygen to us and they are giving food to us. And only green plants can make food. So only green plants are autotrophic. But sometimes you will find there are some different colored plants. You will find some green plants, the non-green plants, some purple plants, some red plants. Do you think they make food? They make food because they have chlorophyll, but you can't see that chlorophyll because it is covered by the red color or the mauve color or the purple color. So as long as the plants have chlorophyll, they will make food. So that comes to the part of the question that I was asking you, why can't we make food? Yes, we can't make food because we don't have chlorophyll, we don't have a green pigment, we don't have some structure whereby the sun's energy can be trapped and converted into a usable form. That is why we depend on green plants for our food. And still, while you are running, you keep plucking these plants. They are our saviors and still we keep killing them. And we are so uncompassionate for them, isn't it? So more and more of green plants should be grown, more of plants should be there so that the amount of oxygen is balanced. Right, this is the first part of the chapter. I move on to now the heterotrophic plants, and they are classified into various categories. The first one is a parasite, then is a saprotroph, then is an insectivorous plant, and finally the plants which are in symbiotic relationship with each other. Right, now these are all the terms which are new to you. Till now, whatever we have done was familiar. Now we move on to some unfamiliar territory, right? So the first one, which is a parasitic plant. What does the literal meaning of a parasite is? Yes, somebody who is not doing anything and depending on the others totally sitting idle on them and taking everything from them. So this is what a parasitic plant is also doing. It is some examples they've given. One is a mistletoe. They grow attached to and within the branches of a tree or shrub. And they use the host mainly for water and mineral and nutrients. And they are not doing anything in return. They are only killing the host plant where they grow. Gradually the host plant dies. And this plant survives. So this is one example of a parasitic plant. It's called mistletoe, right? The next parasitic plant, just see this plant, Indian pipe. So no chlorophyll, it will hook onto the host tree through the fungal hyphae of the host, and the portion of the plant consists of flowering stems. It is very interesting to look at, and ultimately what will happen, the host will die because it will take all the nutrients from the host and don't let the host live, right? This is another example of a parasitic plant. Then we have Cuscuta. Ever heard of the name Cuscuta? No. This Cuscuta also lives on the host and will not let the host live, right? Now moving on to the insectivorous plants. As the name suggests, the plants eating insects. Are you surprised? Yes, now the plants are eating insects. So how are they eating insects? Where are they growing? Let's see that. Insectivorous plants grow in places like swamps and rocky areas where the soil does not have all the nutrients they need. So they have evolved to get the nutrients they need from animals. These plants devour insects, protozoa, lizards and rats. There are more than 600 species of insectivorous plants, mostly found in North America and India. Insectivorous plants are found in Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, West Bengal and Garhwal. This is the example of a pitcher plant. So what is this plant doing? It has to trap insects and it can't move. So they have a mechanism. They have a pitcher, and this pitcher is, you know what a pitcher is? It's a small matka kind of a thing with a lid. So this lid will open, and when this pitcher, the lid will open, the insect sits on it. The insect has the legs which are moist. They will stick to the base, and finally this lid will close. The main trapping device of the pitcher plant looks like a beautiful pitcher full of nectar. This pitcher has a brightly colored rim and an inviting half-closed lid. When the insect comes closer to take a sip, it suddenly slips down the pitcher containing a pool of digestive enzymes at the bottom and gets killed. So this is how they kill the insect and they eat it. See how beautiful this picture looks like. Such variety, such beautiful colors. Anybody will be attracted to it. So once the insect is sitting on the rim, they are definitely going to fall into it, and they fall into it, they've been crushed by them. There are enzymes which will make them into a juice, and it is consumed by the plant. These are the different types of insectivorous plants. Right, this is another example of Venus flytrap. When something touches the ultra-sensitive hair on the edges of the leaf, the cells embedded on the inside wall of the trap push the water towards the outside wall, which makes the leaf close. How the insect is getting trapped. Isn't it beautiful? But the insect doesn't know that it's going to be killed. Isn't it? Okay. This is another example of insectivorous plant. Sundew plant is another example of insectivorous. See a sundew. They're also good looking, isn't it? They're so beautiful. You are charmed by them. This is how they charm the insects also. Okay. Then we come on to the symbiotic relationship. This is the third type of heterotrophic nutrition, where there is a relationship between two. In parasites also there was a relation, but there's a difference. Parasite is only taking, it's not giving anything. Here the relationship is mutual. One is getting something, the other is also getting. Both are getting something from each other. There is an advantage to both. Right? Do you understand the difference between a parasite and symbiotic relationship? Here both are benefiting from each other. They're staying together and helping each other. Like you people have your buddies, you're helping each other. But suppose there's only one child, a very naughty child in the class, only eating your lunch, taking your books, tearing off your things. Then we sometimes say that stop being a parasite, stop acting like a parasite. Because parasite is only taking, not giving anything. So this is another example where a leguminous plant and a bacteria both are living together. And what are they getting from each other? This bacteria called Rhizobium is staying in the roots of the leguminous plant. What is a leguminous plant? All the dals that you eat, the chana, the matar, all are leguminous plants, and they have in their roots they have something like a nodule. What is a nodule? It's something like you make a knot out of it. This is a nodule, गांठ, है ना? इसके अंदर रहते हैं rhizobium. So what happens is when nitrogen comes from the atmosphere, this nitrogen cannot be taken directly by us. It has to be converted into a soluble form. The way we take oxygen, we can't take in nitrogen. It has to be converted into nitrogen, soluble form of nitrogen, which is nitrate and nitrite, right? So it is this rhizobium which helps in conversion of nitrogen into nitrate and nitrite so that the plants can consume it. Once the plants will consume it, from the plants we can take it. And what is the rhizobium getting in return? Rhizobium is getting a place to live, and it is taking the nutrients from the plant. So both are helping each other. This type of a relationship where we have two organisms helping each other is symbiotic. Right? Just see this. Nitrogen from the air, it is coming and it is going and it is being taken by the nodules. The rhizobium is converting it into a soluble form. This is a leguminous plant. Only leguminous plants, no other plants. That is why we say they are excellent source of protein and you should be having lots and lots of dals. In fact, milk and dal, if you compare, dal is a better source of protein because of the presence of more amount of proteins in it. Okay, so this is, and finally the last thing that I left is a saprotroph. Now what is a saprotroph? This is another mode of nutrition where they are even growing in dead and decaying matter. The matter which is lying like a log of wood, like a tree which has fallen down and it's lying there, and gradually you will see some mushrooms coming up. That is what a saprotroph is. They don't need a living medium. A parasite needs a living medium, but a saprotroph can grow even in a dead and decaying matter. Sometimes your shoes in rainy season, you find there is a layer of some growth of organism. You leave it and suddenly the entire shoe is covered by that. What is that? That is a fungus which is growing on your shoes, on bread, on achar, on jams. Normally we don't take out all these things in the rainy season because the chances of them getting spoiled is more because of this fungus. So these are living on any non-living matter and they spoil. They're spoiling clothes. Sometimes even the packed clothes, there will be a layer of fungus on that. So these are the harmful fungi. We have useful fungus also. We have some fungus which we are using for making medicines. We have some fungus we are eating. Some mushrooms we are eating, variety of mushrooms we are eating, but not the ones which are growing like that. We are actually cultivating them and growing them, right? So finally we come to the facts about the plants. Earth has more than 80,000 species of edible plants and 90% of the food humans eat come from just 30 plants. 70,000 plant species are utilized for medicines. So we are making a lot of medicines using these plants, right? Finally, the last part, which is how nutrients are replenished in the soil. How are we getting the nutrients when all the time the plants are using these nutrients for growth? How are we getting it? One, we are adding manure, we are adding fertilizers, and secondly by the bacteria Rhizobium. Then is what are partial heterotrophs? The plants like the insectivorous plants. They can make their food because they have green color. You didn't ask me why they are, when they are making food, then why are they eating insects? Because they are making food, but the food made by them is not sufficient. So they are eating insects to fulfill their nutritional requirement. A quick review, explain the statement. Insectivorous plants are partly heterotrophs. Yes, because they are making their food also and they are eating insects. So they are autotrophs also and heterotrophs also. Therefore, we call them partly heterotrophs. Explain what symbiotic relationship is and give an example. We just now did Rhizobium and the leguminous plant. Both are helping each other. Name any three nutrients present in fertilizers. Yes, they are nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. Crops require which nutrient to make protein? Nitrogen. Name the bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into a soluble form. Rhizobium. Why don't farmers add nitrogen fertilizers to the soil in which they grow leguminous plants? Because already they have a bacteria which is converting nitrogen into nitrate and nitrite. So there is no need to add the nitrogen fertilizer. So